Hello everyone, welcome back to Asian Movie Recaps. Today we will recap another great movie guaranteed to keep you glued to your screen. Please like and subscribe to our channel. That way, we can continue to provide you with jaw-dropping stories in our movie summaries. It may only take a few seconds, but it allows us to upload our daily video as soon as possible. Let's start. When a young woman ends up drunk in her boss's office, her boss takes advantage of her drunken state, and her husband witnesses this act helplessly from the window. She realizes she's pregnant, and a set of emotional calculations ensues. The boss wants to buy the child, his wife has conditions, her husband goes back and forth and can barely contain his anger, and she withdraws. The baby arrives. Can anything be sorted out? The movie begins as a young lady meets Lin Dong in a hotel room. She asks him to hurry up as she has a dinner date that night and reminds him of her price. He brings out his wallet and hands her the money with some extra for the taxi fare. She looks questioningly at him and he says he can't make love in a hurry and he walks out. Lin Dong walks into the Golden Basin massage parlor he owns and goes to play games with friends. Liu Pingguo and her husband, and Kuan, are a young couple from China who relocated to Beijing in search of a better life. The life they live is anything but perfect. Although, the love they have for each other is very strong and their sex life is fulfilling. They live in a rundown apartment where they survive by doing menial jobs. The little income they make from Kuan's job as a window washer and Liu Pingguo's job giving foot massages at the Golden Basin massage parlor barely allows them to make a good living. The Golden Basin is owned by Lin Dong, a successful businessman, and a shameless womanizer. He is married to Wang Mai, a good-looking woman who practices Chinese medicine. They are a middle-aged couple but are childless. Liu Pingguo goes home after work and is having dinner with her husband, and Kuan, and she reminds him never to show up at her workplace as her boss would be upset to find out that she's married. The next day at work, Liu Pingguo's best friend, Xiaomai, assaults a customer who tried to touch her wrongly and the customer demands that she is fired, otherwise he would wreck the premises. Lin Dong agrees and fires her despite pleas from Liu Pingguo. In a bid to console her, they go out and Liu Pingguo returns to work in a drunken state. She ends up in Lin Dong's office mistaking him for Kuan. She makes passes at him. However, she eventually realizes who he is and pushes him away, but he doesn't stop. It results in a struggle and he ends up raping her. This is witnessed by Kuan, who is washing the building's windows. Kuan goes in and attacks Lin Dong, who calls for security. He gets them to throw Kuan out. Back home, Kuan tries to throw Liu Pingguo out, but she refuses to leave and they end up having sex. While Lin Dong is in a hotel room with a lady, he receives a call. He answers, and when the caller speaks to him he replies that he has over 50 girls working for him and he does not know who goes by the name Liu Pingguo. The caller, who is Kuan, demands $20,000 and Lin Dong tells him to go rob a bank if he wants that much money. Kuan begins a harassment campaign against Lin Dong, vandalizing his Mercedes-Benz and attempting to blackmail him for $20,000. After the incident, Lin Dong tries to pay Liu Pingguo off with $2,000 and fire her, but she threatens to report him for rape if he does. Seeing that Lin Dong isn't paying him any heed, Kuan goes to Wang Mai. He tells her what her husband has done and she gets really upset and throws things off the table. She says she is not surprised that Lin Dong, Kuan demands $20,000 for what her husband did. She refuses to pay him and tells him that Lin Dong doesn't care about anything but the face, and giving Kuan the money will make him lose face, so he shouldn't waste his time waiting for Lin Dong to pay him off. She suggests another way to get back at Lin Dong for sleeping with his wife is to sleep with Lin Dong's wife and Kuan to sleep with her. Life continues as normal, but a month later, Liu Pingguo finds out that she is pregnant, Kuan sees it as a chance from heaven. He goes to Lin Dong's apartment and lies that he is Wang Mai's cousin so he can be allowed to get in. When Lin Dong sees him, he tries to throw him out, but Kuan says he has something to tell him. Kuan informs him that Liu Pingguo is pregnant and he came to congratulate Lin Dong. Lin Dong asks what the pregnancy has to do with him and Kuan tells him that he is responsible for it. He explains that Lin Dong had sex with Liu Pingguo on the 20th of September and that day was the 23rd of October, so the dates align. Lin Dong denies it. Lin Dong informs Wang Mai of the pregnancy and tells her that he has decided to adopt the child. She accepts, but on the condition that he will sign an agreement that says that if he does anything to hurt her, that all his assets will become hers. He agrees to give her half of his assets if that happens. Lin Dong pays Kuan a visit at work. He has an offer for him. He suggests that if the child is born with his blood type, that he'll pay Kuan $100,000, but if the child is born with Kuan's blood type, then he won't get any money since the child is his and he doesn't lose anything. Kuan does not accept this offer. He says that Lin Dong denied ever having sexual relations with his wife and didn't pay the initial $20,000. He insists that Lin Dong must pay $120,000. Lin Dong agrees. Liu Pingguo goes to have an abortion but is discouraged when another patient screams and runs out in tears. Kuan and Wang Mai have been sleeping together. Lin Dong, Wang Mai, Kuan, and Liu Pingguo gather to sign the agreements. Lin Dong becomes very protective of Liu Pingguo and her pregnancy. He goes to her home to drop off food and dietary supplements for her. He has become very attached to the idea that he will become a father at last. He believes the child is his. This makes Kuan jealous. Months later, Liu Pingguo gives birth and Kuan is given the birth certificate of the child which had the blood type on it. When he sees the blood type, he goes back to the doctor complaining that his blood type is B and not A. The doctor insists that there was no mistake in the blood type. Kuan lies that his wife was having an affair, and when he found out she tried to commit suicide if she finds out that the child belongs to the other man, that she might try to kill herself again. He asks the doctor to change the blood type to AB, but the doctor refuses. He offers a bribe and gets the blood type changed without anyone knowing. Lin Dong is excited to see his child. He hands Kuan an envelope that contains the money and carries the baby in his arms with a big smile. Lin Dong and Wang Mai take the child home. Liu Pingguo will nurse the child for 6 months as was agreed earlier. Liu Pingguo walks into her room to see Kuan playing with the money he received. She asks him why he hasn't deposited the money yet, and he responds that it is the money he got for selling his wife and child, so he wants to look at it every day. He says he even sleeps with the money. She questions if he has not seen so much money before in his life and walks out of the room. Liu Pingguo is giving Wang Mai a foot massage, and Wang Mai says she can see why Liu Pingguo was the best at the Golden Basin massage parlor. Wang Mai asks Liu Pingguo if she thinks that by making a man comfortable she can make him fall for her. Liu Pingguo doesn't respond, and Wang Mai goes on to say that she knows Liu Pingguo may try to trick Lin Dong, but Lin Dong will dare not be tricked. That he is a man and so knows how to distinguish self-interest from love. Liu Pingguo replies that she is overthinking things, and Wang Mai corrects her that she is not overthinking things, she just cares too much. Wang Mai advises Liu Pingguo that as a woman, she needs to keep a way out for herself so she doesn't end up losing everything. Liu Pingguo is done with the massage and she takes her to leave. Wang Mai flings her magazine away in anger. Lin Dong, Kuan, and Liu Pingguo are together. Liu Pingguo tidies up while Lin Dong plays with his son. Kuan watches with jealousy. He asks Liu Pingguo to come home with him, but Lin Dong says she can't as she has to nurse the baby. Kuan says it's just for a few days, but Lin Dong refuses, telling him that she only has to be there for a few months according to the agreement. Wang Mai comes out of the inner room and asks Kuan to just leave, that she too feels like an extra in the house. Wang Mai and Kuan leave together. While I'm in the car, Wang Mai reminds Kuan that she told him there are different solutions to problems. She tells him about the agreement Lin Dong signed with her. If Lin Dong gets into another relationship with Liu Pingguo, he will lose 50% of his assets to her. She says she is sure Lin Dong will never let that happen. Wang Mai assures him that Liu Pingguo will return to him in a few months. They meet Xiao Mai. She looks different. She has heavy makeup on and she is smoking. They sit having dinner together while music plays in the background, and Kuan looks sad and deep in thought while he drinks what seems to be alcohol. While Liu Pingguo is in the bathroom taking a shower, Lin Dong peeps at her using a mirror. Unknown to him, Wang Mai is standing behind him watching. When he realizes that Wang Mai is there, he pretends he is looking at himself and walks away. Liu Pingguo comes out of the bathroom to meet Wang Mai seated in her room. She smiles at her and Wang Mai smiles back, then she walks close and gives Liu Pingguo a slap and walks out. Liu Pingguo starts crying. Kuan and Liu Pingguo are walking. Kuan has a sad look on his face and Liu Pingguo is asking what Wang Mai told him. He doesn't respond and she asks again. She says whatever Wang Mai told him didn't happen and it was all just a misunderstanding. Kuan says nothing. She holds onto his dress and pulls him, but he breaks out of her hold and grabs her shoulders. He leans down to look into her face and he tells her that the baby is his. He admits that he changed the blood type behind her back. Liu Pingguo doesn't believe him. She says he is making it up because he is jealous and starts explaining once again that Wang Mai made a mistake and it was all just a misunderstanding. He insists that it's the truth, but Liu Pingguo doesn't listen and tries to walk away, but Kuan grabs her by the neck and screams at her to listen. He says they should go to the hospital the next day to do a blood test. He tells her to bring the child back to their home. Liu Pingguo slaps Kuan. She asks if he isn't ashamed of himself. She says he made them look bad. And Kuan says she has changed and calls her a hooker. He puts his hands on her neck and squeezes while she struggles. He lets her go and tells her to get lost. He pushes Liu Pingguo and rough handles her, then he walks away in anger. Liu Pingguo walks into the elevator. She looks shocked and starts crying. The door opens and to show Lin Dong preparing the baby's bottle, and Liu Pingguo runs and hugs him from behind while crying. He asks what's wrong while trying to disengage from her hold. She suddenly starts trying to take off his clothes, but he is resisting. She asks if he doesn't like her. He stops her and she leans into him and cries while he just holds her. And Kuan is seen sneaking into the house. He picks up the baby while Liu Pingguo sleeps. Just as he is almost at the door, Liu Pingguo, awake now, asks where he is taking the baby. He gags and ties her up and goes away with the baby. Lin Dong asks Liu Pingguo if it was their plan all along, to kidnap the baby and blackmail him for money. He turns to his wife Wang Mai and tells her that nothing happened between him and Liu Pingguo. He says he signed an agreement and he had kept to it. He asks her if she was the one who told Kuan to take the baby, just so Liu Pingguo wouldn't have to stay with them. He threatens Wang Mai that he would divorce her and marry Pingguo if he finds out that she masterminded the kidnapping. Lin Dong cries that there's no one he can trust, everyone is playing games on him. He calls the police and reports the kidnapping of his child. And Kuan is walking with the baby in his arms when he suddenly turns around and runs. Policemen are chasing after him. He is caught and jailed. Lin Dong is in his office when some policemen pay him a visit. He thanks them for saving his child and asks them how he can repay them, but he is told not to thank them yet as they have some unexpected news. Lin Dong asked if Kuan had been lying to them again, but the police officer replied that based on Kuan's claims of paternity, they had performed a DNA test on the child with Lin Dong's permission and they had the result with them. They presented it to Lin Dong and the result read that Kuan was the biological father of the child. Lin Dong is shocked and doesn't believe the results of the test. He tears up the result sheet and bids them farewell. After they have left, he shuts the door and picks up the pieces of the test and looks at it. He begins to cry. Kuan has been released from jail by Wang Mai. She drops him off and as he steps out of the car, she writes her new address and hands it to him. She says she knows he won't come to visit, but she hopes that he changes his mind someday. Liu Pingguo is dressing her child when she receives a shocking phone call. She is seen walking into a morgue. A corpse is pulled out and uncovered. She is asked if that is Xiao Mai and she nods in response with tears in her eyes. She asks how Xiao Mai died and she's told they suspect a customer robbed and killed her. Lin Dong is cutting vegetables when Kuan drops the envelope of money on the counter and asks him to confirm the amount. Lin Dong says he should keep it, that he has felt like the child was his. He offers more money to Kuan so he can keep the child. Kuan says the child is his and he will leave with him that day. They turn around when they hear a door open. Liu Pingguo is carrying the child. She sees Kuan and shuts the door. Kuan says he gives them 3 days, otherwise they'll meet in court. Lin Dong opens the door to leave the house. He sees Wang Mai going in. They don't say a word to each other. He gets in his car and drives off. Wang Mai is leaving with a box when she drops it and goes to the room where Liu Pingguo is sitting in an absent-minded state. She sits beside her for some seconds before she puts her hand on her shoulder, startling Pingguo. Wang Mai holds her hand and Pingguo starts crying. They sit and cry together. Pingguo is on the rooftop thinking and gazing at the city below. Pingguo is frying eggs, then she leaves it and goes into the room. She packs the money and puts it inside a bag with some clothes. She picks up the baby and leaves. Her food sits on the table untouched. The movie ends with Kuan and Lin Dong driving in search of Liu Pingguo and the child, but their car breaks down in the middle of the highway. They fly out and try to push it off the road. What do you think about this movie? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Subscribe and turn on post notifications so you won't miss our daily uploads. See you in the next video. Thank you for your support.